Artist Erin Beckloff loves the tradition and history of letterpress.
Letterpress printing is a method of relief printing. While technology shifted, letterpress printing was the method of printing for over 500 years. And it's no longer economically the fastest way to print, but there's something that people are still connecting to, and I think that's why it's become an art and a craft. My in-laws gave me a small printing press as a wedding gift. So I got this little printing press and I didn't know how to use it, and so I started reaching out to people in the letterpress community for help, because you can search for it on the internet and there are some videos, but it's so much better to go and meet with someone. And I started to find that there were other people that cared about this, and there were other people that had printing presses in their basements or garages. And it wasn't just people in their 20s and 30s, it was also people in their 80s. So it was fantastic to find this community that wanted to help each other. There aren't really secrets. It's everyone wants to help letterpress printing survive, and so everyone's willing to help each other out, be it by finding equipment or teaching a technique or learning a new process or talking about how to mix ink. Everybody helps each other. Letterpress printing, as it became an art form or a craft, it still has that limited constraint of working with the wood and the metal and the wood and metal type and the ornaments. And your collection tends to influence your aesthetic as a shop. If you think of someone like Hat Show Print down in Nashville, Tennessee, they're using blocks that might have been used on a Johnny Cash poster, and now they're being used on a contemporary country music poster. And to think about that collection is then influencing your aesthetic. When I started to acquire type, I became very interested in wood type. I loved the beauty of the letters. I love that so many of the wood type fonts were made over 100 years ago and we're still able to use them today. I like how big and bold they are, and that was just something I really connected with. My dad actually makes wood type the same way that it was produced for hundreds of years by all the wood type manufacturers. So Hamilton Wood Type and Printing Museum, most people have seen Hamilton on a little drawer pull, that's that group. They made type using this pantograph method, which is a dual tracer and router. And so you trace the pattern of the letter or the ornament, decorative ornament, and then it cuts the type out of end grain maple. And a lot of my style and aesthetic came from the fact that my dad, Scott, of Morewood Type, started making type the historic way. And so I started really exploring how these ornaments could be used to create form and solids and even letter forms and characters. And so I really like to use my dad's ornaments as a main component of my work. But I love the traditional tools of letterpress printing. The wood and the metal type. The metal type's really small and can get this very crisp line, and some of the fonts are only available in wood and metal. They never made it to the computer, which is just special. And I just love the history that you know is in every letter that you're setting. It's been used before, and so being able to give it life by continuing to print with it is just something that I connect to as a tool and as my main driving force of my aesthetic as a printer. Letterpress printing in a lot of ways is almost meditative. You become one with the press that you're using, and if it's your own press especially, you start to hear and know the quirks of the press, and they all have their own sound. You know, each press has its own rhythm and music to it, and especially when you're running one of the larger presses like my Chandler & Price CMP with the flywheel, you can feel that motion, and I stand against it, and you're a part of the rhythm of the printing, and so you're feeding it the paper and it continues to run, and you hear the cha-chink cha-chink of the cast iron, or you hear the little glitches of the gears, and it's a wholly immersive experience, and it really makes you slow down because you can't go faster than the press. After getting my very first press, I had a business for about a year trying to sell commercial work, and that just really wasn't for me. I tried to do the craft fairs and the art fairs, and I just really loved making, and I really love people. And so I came back to my alma mater where I received my undergrad in graphic design, and they had a letterpress shop that was sitting unused. And so I had the opportunity to teach a class, to teach students how to be letterpress printers, which quite honestly, I was still learning myself and continue to today. And I started teaching letterpress as an elective, and I had great groups of students for every semester. So 9 years, every semester we've offered letterpress printing, sometimes multiple sections. It's wonderful to watch my students pull their first print, because they pull that first print off the press and just kind of a light goes on. Watching them discover how fascinating letterpress printing can be is immensely satisfying and joyful for me. Pressing On the Letterpress film is a documentary about the survival of letterpress printing and specifically the community that have kept it alive. It is both the older generation that held on to the equipment and the knowledge through a time when letterpress printing was not popular, and also the new generation that are continuing to keep it going. So I would say I'm a member of the new generation, and as I became a part of the community and started to make these connections with these 70 and 80-year-old printers, I knew that that knowledge was going to get lost if we didn't record it in some way. Through making the film, I got to see the way letterpress had been a part of all of these people's lives since they were young. So some of the older printers in the community had become apprentices when they were 12 or 15 years old with their families. And so I got to hear the way that letterpress printing had driven their life path, and how special it is to them to know that there's a young generation that still cares about this process, this medium, this trade that they love. The printers that held this knowledge, a lot of it was never recorded in books. I've taken on this role as educator and filmmaker and created a shop at a university, and they seem to connect to it. And so many of them have gone on to actually buy their own presses, which I never imagined. You know, I love that it's a part of their lives, but now they have their own presses that they're learning how to use, learning their presses quirks. And I love to see that engagement, and that they want to continue to help be a part of the letterpress community. Using letterpress printing equipment is what's keeping it alive. Having a wood type font sit in a drawer or behind glass somewhere isn't going to keep it going. When you're continuing to print it, it not only is putting oil back into the wood and keeping those characters in good condition, but by printing it, you're then sharing it with more people, which is keeping letterpress printing alive. So it's both the use and the people that are continuing to keep letterpress going.